Hi, Sarah here with Rise Performance. Today we're going to discuss hips and how the ribs can affect the hips. The ribs also can affect neck dysfunction and pain and shoulder, which we can get to later on. But today we're going to just discuss hips and their internal and external rotation when it comes to pain when you're doing a squat, or when it comes to glute activation, which we are always trying to grow and both our glutes. How do you know if you need to use any of these exercises at all? If you are squatting in the gym and you have pain in the front of your hip, that could be one reason why. If you are doing all the glute exercises and you are not getting any glute growth, or if you're doing knee exercises or squatting and your knees tend to cave in, or you have knee pain. One way that you know if your hips lack internal and external rotation in a squat is you might get anterior hip pain, or the hip impingement we call it. Now this can be for a few different reasons, so it is a sensitive topic because it could be arthritis, there could be an injury there could be something going on. But one of the things that happens is when you have an affected side of the hip one side doesn't internally and externally rotate, your body also cannot turn easily towards that side. This exercise is to help create internal and external rotation of that hip, as well as the spinal movement needed that's also going to be affected. With this exercise, you're going to lay on your back, you're going to put one foot on the wall, and you're going to put the affected leg up at 90 degrees. So that hip is going to be at 90 degrees. You should be able to safely get to that 90 degrees. If you cannot get to that without pain, back off a little. Then what you're going to do is take the other opposite arm and put that elbow and arm at 90 degrees. You're slightly going to rotate your upper body and your spine towards that affected side, just ever so slightly. Your head should also be some pressure on that side of your skull. You're going to take 8 deep breaths in and out in this position. If you are not getting a lot of glute activation, especially in a squat, it could be for a few reasons. First, let's tie it back into the rib cage. If you are a narrow body type, that means you have a narrower ISA. This is the angle in your rib cage. Your hips are going to lack some internal rotation in the squat. So when you're on a wedge, it's immediately going to put your hips more into internal rotation. This is automatically going to help you get more glute activation out of it when it comes to the glute medius. Then what you can do to get even more is to put a band above your knees, slightly push out against that band, and then go down to the squat on the wedges, and you'll get a lot more out of it, a lot more glute activation, and it's better for you if you are a narrower person. If you're having knee pain and you notice that your knees constantly are going into knee valgus, again, it might be because your glute medius are weak, your glute medius. Now, your glute medius is also weak a lot of times because it's not getting its full lengthen and shortened ranges when you are working them out, because your hips are also not internally and externally rotating. So what we want to do is get the hip and internal rotation and then activate the abductor muscles of the hip, which are your glute medius, with a band. Therefore, you're taking care of the hip internal rotation and the knee pain at the same time. To do this, what you're going to do is put your front foot on a box, either an elevated box or a wedge or something like that. This is automatically going to help that front hip get into internal rotation. Then you're going to put a band around your knee, either right above it or below it, and have tension on that band, pulling your leg into adduction. You're slightly going to push out against that as you lunge up and down. These are just a few ways that the ribs and the hips are connected that could be affecting your pain or your results. If you want more information, like and subscribe my channel. Also, you can sign up for the app below.